Erev Tov Chavrim, I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live, and we have finally made it back into our home base here in Prague. Wanted to catch up with you guys on one of the latest stories we've been following there. A report that we got from a very precious sister, Shoshana, up in the Golan about bombings that have been going on, so heavy of bombings up in Syria in their western part of the country that it was rattling the windows, shaking the earth. Even Brother Moshe of Israel's gosh, it slips my mind his channel. I apologize for that, but you can catch one of our earlier broadcasts and catch it there. But anyway, Brother Moshe was reporting as well that the sounds of the bombs were so loud that it was hurting his wife's ears as well as his own, and the ground, they could feel the ground trembling all the way to the Sea of Galilee. It was so bad, according to Brother Moshe on his channel there, that he said that some of the residents there had contacted the IDF to see if the Golan was being hit. And at one point, I got another email from our sister there in the Galilee saying that the sirens were going off as well. They were that concerned of these bombs coming in to the northern part of Israel in the Golan area there, just right there around the Sea of Galilee. But thus far, that has not happened, and we have been investigating this since we made it back in. And I'll go into a little bit of information on our trip coming back in as well, because there's many of you have been concerned about our daughter, and she's doing okay now, but some very serious things happened to her on our trip. Share that with you in a little bit here. So anyway, we named the broadcast here, Israel's Golan shakes from Russia's airstrikes. That's exactly what is happening in Israel there. It is Russia. Moshe did say that he had noticed that many planes were flying overhead, and that were like the planes for Russia that are the cargo planes taking in extra armament, things like that. It looks like that Russia is going to hunker down for the long haul, even though Turkey and Saudi Arabia is ready to do a ground invasion. There is some belief that Turkey has already begun their attack on Syria, and that's quite evident on many news broadcasts, including RT News, that Turkey has been launching attacks into Syria on numerous occasions, and as well they're beefing up more support for ISIS that is in that region there, as well as the rebel groups that the United States backs too. At this rate here, let me share with you, though, what is actually causing the ground to shake in the Golan. What's going on in northern Israel there when so many people, we're getting different reports of what's, that is very scary because of all the heavy bombardment of bombs and the ground shaking. Is it Turkey? Is it Russia? What exactly is going on? So I did some investigation on this. And by the way, hopefully we will have boots on the ground ourselves very soon here on the Syrian border there. We're intending on trying to get there in the next week to 2 weeks to cover this for you live right from the front lines. Anyway, Russian Defense Ministry, 1,593 terrorist targets destroyed in Syria in 1 week. That's reported by Syrian Arab News Agency on February 16, 2016. That's the title of their story there. They said in the broadcast here in Moscow, Sana, the Russian Defense Ministry, announced on Tuesday that 444 sorties targeting sites of terrorist organizations in a number of Syrian provinces were carried out between the 10th and 16th of February. That would explain why that I got the emails when I did from our precious sister there in the Golan. Ministry spokesman Major General Igor Kanashkanov said that Russian aerospace forces destroyed 1,593 terrorist targets in Deir ez-Zor, Dara, Homa, Latakia, Homs, and Aleppo in the aforementioned time frame. Kanashkanov pointed out that terrorist organizations in Idlib and Aleppo. Now, let's stop right here. Notice the names that he speaks about. Now, Latakia and Aleppo are both in the northern province of Syria. In fact, Latakia is right on the border with Turkey. This is where it's a contested, heated area, as well as Aleppo, between Russia and Turkey for that particular space there. And the United States is not going to stop Turkey, by the way, because the United States wants this to be taken over. Why? Because none other than Shell Oil International, which is a heavily backed, Vatican-invested oil company that's been working in Syria for many, many years. They want their oil. They want their oil fields protected. And unfortunately, Bashar al-Assad has signed a contract with none other than Russia's own state-owned oil company for the rights for the drilling and the test drilling off the coast of Syria. This has caused a great concern. This is why you see the Vatican pushing their Roman soldiers to the front there to fight this battle and to take this ground back, and if they have to, get rid of Assad because they feel like he's causing the problems. That's why you see all the lies and the perpetrations against Bashar al-Assad. Rome owned all this, had that oil sewed up for themselves with Shell International that they have working in this area, along with Lebanon, along with Jordan. Of course, Jordan really doesn't have much of oil, but they do have, Shell has that rights to that area too. And Afghanistan. No wonder why the United States is in Afghanistan. Got to protect that Vatican investment, you see. So, anyway, though, if you look on your map right here in the file here behind you, it's not a good one. I'm going to show you a little bit better idea. You see Dara. Dara, by the way, if you could see it on a good map, and you'll see it in a moment, is closer to the border of the Golan than Damascus is. And I'm going to share with you some photos in a moment there that I took actually with Sister Shoshana, the very sister that reported this to me originally. We were with her up in the northern part of Israel during the earlier part of last year with the Syrian civil war going on, and we were catching the fighting going on then and the U.S. Backed coalition bombing there that was happening in and around Damascus. We actually caught some of that live footage for you as well. But Dara is right there next to the border of none other than the Golan Heights of Israel. Now, you can see here in the map here, look to the top left of the screen, the Sea of Galilee pictured here. Now, the Sea of Galilee is only 7 miles across. Well, about 15 miles away from the Sea of Galilee is the area of Dara. And you can't see it on the map here, but directly north of the Sea of Galilee, a little further away than what Dara is Damascus. But yet you can stand right there in the Golan and see Damascus. But Dara is literally only about, well, the Golan here is there. You can't see the borderline there, but the Golan right there actually is probably only about 8-9 miles away from the Golan Heights. Imagine if Russia is dropping heavy bombs in there. You're going to shake some ground, especially if they're using their own bunker busters that they have. And by the way, Russia does have those bunker busters. Now, this is some of the footage we took when Sister Shoshana went with us this particular day there. She actually shared with us how to get to this one mountain there that you can overlook and see Damascus. Damascus is the city you see in the top of the screen in the background there. You can stand on the mountain, and we were clearly photographing Damascus that was, it looked like a stone's throw away. It's probably about 6 miles from the border right there of Israel, but easily the ground would shake if bombs would be going off. Now, this particular footage here was more like mortar shells going off or grenades going off in the little tiny town there, little village there on the outskirts of Damascus. Also, this was where one of the coalition forces dropped off a pretty heavy bomb on top of this mountain. Now, that was way off in the distance. We was using a pretty strong, powerful lens, 600 millimeter at the time. Now, by your help and support of this work, we are equipped with 1,200 millimeters with video capacity. So we are hoping to be there again on the front lines there on the Syrian border with Israel and capture some of this so you can see what really is going on. But as I stated, the whole reason this is happening, though, and the reason the ground has been shaking there in northern Israel is because of the efforts that Russia is putting forth to knock out ISIS terrorists. Listen here more into the same article on the Syrian Arab News Agency. Kanashkanov pointed out that terrorist organizations in Idlib and Aleppo are still receiving weapons and equipment across the Turkish border under the cover of night, and that more terrorists have joined their ranks in the same way. He added that despite the agreement reached last Thursday by International Syrian Support Group on the ceasefire, terrorist organizations have increased their activities in Syria territories, mainly in the north of the country, adding that there are growing disagreements between the terrorist organizations and the question of control over areas. Since the beginning of this month, Kanashkanov added the Syrian Arab Army and cooperation with supporting forces established control over 73 towns and villages spread over an area of 800 square kilometers or kilometers there. It is amazing just how much the Turkish government is helping ISIS push forward this battle. And one of the reasons why the United States doesn't say a whole lot about ISIS is because you have to remember Obama was kind enough to leave them plenty of arms and supplies behind, hoping to topple Bashar al-Assad. But that has failed since Russia has stepped into the picture. Of course, Bashar al-Assad gave Russia a very nice blessing there of oil and natural gas as a reward for keeping him in power. Let's continue on, though. Notice, though, I want to point out one thing. General Kanashkanov made the statement there about the agreement, the failed agreement there that was going on, despite the agreement reached last Thursday. He didn't call it a failed, we called it a failed agreement. He's talking none other than the agreement that was being reached there with John Kerry and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov there in Munich. I wish I'd have caught that one there. That's one of the reasons why we were traveling about trying to capture some of these events here. I don't live too far from Munich, so hopefully I'll be able to catch them there one day, and that'd really be nice. Anyway, Russia and U.S. still weeks, if not worlds apart on Syria. USnews.com, February 11th, 2016, reported this here. The U.S. and Russia are in Munich to discuss how to bring peace in Syria, but remain far apart on key issues with Moscow, proposing a March 1st ceasefire in the country and the U.S. wanting to see fighting stopped immediately. Why does the U.S. want it to stop immediately? Because they want to oust Bashar al-Assad. Russia wants more time. And this is why Russia has stepped up the bombing campaign all across Syria. The north, the south, right there on Israel's border at the Golan. But remember, friends, even from a biblical perspective, this is not the Gog and Magog battle of Ezekiel 39. This is the battles that will only put the armies in place. Once Russia and the United States butt heads a little bit, it'll only set the stage then when they settle their differences to have all the world's armies in one place to come against Israel. And that will be the next step of the Ezekiel 39 war, 38-39 war there. Continuing on here, it says here in the article here, Russia has intensified its bombing in Syria in recent weeks, handing Syrian President Bashar Assad's forces key gains, and the U.S. is worried that delaying a ceasefire several weeks would allow too much time for government troops to make irreversible advances against U.S.-backed rebels. You know, the whole thing, friends, it is a battle between Russia and the United States, clearly. And there has been plenty of support showing that Russia has its own military troops on the grounds in Syria now. Not just protecting their own warplanes, but actually fighting as well. Don't think the U.S. doesn't do it as well. We've seen, I shared with you a little while back there on RT News, they were actually capturing video footage of Turkey when they were going into Nineveh, and they had, guess what they had with them? They had U.S. Navy SEALs fighting with them. So yes, they claim that they're not, but they both have troops on the ground and they're both fighting head to head, but they're just trying to use other forces to do that. Now in our broadcast that we'll be bringing up before too long on Planet X, we're going to be bringing in why Syria is such a strategic place, something you may not be aware of, but Syria, according to some of the maps that are out there after the Planet X does pass, happens to be one of the major places that's still alive and still afloat. So it's not just about oil and natural gas, although no doubt that plays a big part. I do think this Planet X is coming, and I believe, though, it's still a few years out. I think it comes after the death of the two witnesses. It's just a personal take. We're going to be sharing some very deep insight with you on that in the very coming days and weeks. Anyway, in closing on this broadcast, I do want to just share with you, those of you that have wondered about our daughter, Ariella, she's doing better. The doctors did not diagnose her properly when she was in the hospital in London. They dismissed her from the hospital. The next day, we took her to a doctor there in London because we felt like that she needed an antibiotic. That doctor looked at her, said she did need one. Looked like to him that she was developing tonsillitis. So he gave her that. We rushed back to Prague to come to the doctor here. When we got here, it wasn't tonsillitis. The other doctors shouldn't have dismissed her from the hospital. She had an inner ear infection and both her eardrums ruptured on the way here to Prague. She has undergone treatment since then. We thank you for your prayers. She was treated tonight. In fact, as we came in, we rushed in as quickly as we could because we knew we had a good doctor here for her in Prague. So she has been treated. She's resting now. She did suffer tremendous amount of pain, and we did the best we could to treat her on the way, but she did make it in, and she's safe now. Anyway, we want to thank you and thank those of you that are supporting this particular type of broadcast. We apologize for the times we weren't able to get the broadcast to you because of internet issues there. We had a very precious sister up in London there that hosted us, and she had even went so far as to get internet for us. Beloved sister there. I don't want to call her name to cause any problems for her, and I didn't ask her if I could, but I will say this: she's very kind, got internet for us, but a huge storm had came through and downed the internet tower in that area, ironically enough. And then immediately after that, our daughter ended up in the hospital. But anyway, if this type of ministry blesses you, if this broadcast bless you, please support it. You can see on our screen here, we have both IsraeliNewsLive.org and IsraelReturns.com. IsraelReturns.com has a mailing address if you want to support that way, or you can donate online with any kind of credit card, whatever you so desire to. And let me mention to you one other thing as well, and that is I mentioned to you that we are trying to get into the front lines coming up very soon here. It actually slipped my mind what I wanted to share with you guys. I apologize for that. Oh, I know what it was. I apologize. I do remember now. I've gotten quite a few emails, my wife has as well, asking me about going back to teaching as well, biblical teaching as well. I was going to do this on a separate channel, but I finally decided that even in the past, when I really did a lot of teaching, it was mainly once a week I would do deeper teachings, because you have to really pray and take the time to study things out and search for to get the right information. So we have decided to go back and restart our biblical teachings as well, right here on Israeli News Live. It'll air every Saturday, every Yom Shabbat. For those of you that like the Shabbat message, the Sabbath message as many call it, we will air our teachings every Yom Shabbat, every Saturday. I don't know of a particular time because that's the day I would spend in study to begin with. That's normally the one day of the week I don't air news, is on Saturdays unless something is really going on. So that's when we will air our teaching broadcasts for you on multiple different subjects. So those of you that come for the news, keep that in mind. On Saturdays we'll be doing biblical teachings there, and the rest of the week we'll be carrying the news. We love you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening and supporting this work. God bless you. Shalom.